Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for the warm welcome, and particularly, to the distinguished guest today. I was asked to actually speak here, and really I wanted to know, what people would like to actually hear. And, and basically, I was told that this forum is for the students, and I really wanted to speak from my heart to you, because I was once a student as well, student of design, and I wanted to share my journey. So I'll start with me. I'm an interior designer, and I'm practicing today, even though I do appear from time to time on television shows when, it works with my schedule. And really, my journey right now is on this stage. But the journey actually started, when I was actually born on an island, right, in the Southwest Pacific. Yes, not a lot of people know that. And it's on the periphery of the Pacific Ocean, and it's a country called Papua New Guinea, where it basically has the most languages in the world. We have more than 838 distinct languages, not including dialects. So you can imagine communication might be a problem, like in design. And, when I grew up, I was frolicking in the sea, and another unique information about Papua New Guinea is that it has the world's most beautiful birds, the birds of paradise. And you can see children putting some of the birds' feathers in their hair, and this happens everywhere. I didn't get to do the feathers, but I most certainly swam in the oceans and the sea, and I even from time to time painted my own face. Not in Tang's department store way, like the cosmetics you see from Chanel or anything else, but these are incredible colors that I actually see. So, my journey, to actually tell you how I got here, and Nippon said to me, we'd like to hear your journey and your story, and, how do you keep to the design, and, what are the boundaries that you challenge, and what do you do differently? And really, I want to tell you this story because I will come back to it to tell you how it's actually changed me. I went to Australia for my formal education, and suddenly it was like prison. I kid you not. It was 4 walls. You couldn't go beyond the 4 walls. 1,000 boys, one of the largest boarding schools in the world for boys. And it was rah rugby. It was all about football. But I loved art. So, I'm like, one of the very few art. Everyone was playing rugby, and here is me with my art sketchbook. And on top of that, I was only one of 7 Asian kids in my year. 200 boys in my year, I'm one of 7, okay? And when I got to university, I realized when I wanted to think about enrolling into interior design, today I'm only one of 200 boys that's actually an interior designer. So what are the odds of that, Papua New Guinea, Australia, boarding school, doing art, as opposed to rugby, playing for the Wallabies, and now interior design. And, even the challenges there, students, I wanted to express to you, was basically, what is interior design? Now, I think my parents knew because they were actually quite encouraging. Most Asian parents was, what's with interior design? Aren't you doing law or medicine or maybe even architecture? But I did have a choice, and I swapped very, very quickly on the first day of enrollment from architecture to interior design, by the way. But, sitting down at a family function, a family friend asked my grandmother, "What does your grandson study?" She said, "Oh, interior design." And her friend responded with, "Oh, a hobby." And today, interior design can be seen, unfortunately, as interior decoration, which is just one aspect of what we do. And students, in my time, it was like art, or maybe not a serious profession, it was a hobby. And, unfortunately, sometimes the real world doesn't even catch up even, because I just had my team look at something on the internet, and Singapore Sports Council said dressing up works at Active Health Lab in Admiralty. So there are some misperceptions that you will find, even though you've been studying interior design in your own career as well. So when I enrolled for interior design at UTS in Sydney, there was a design school there. And one of the things that I thought was interior design, I had to rethink my enrollment, because the first semester was like, heck, I don't think I've actually enrolled in interior design at all. We're doing everything but interior design. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago, when this buzzword of design thinking has come up, that I realized that what they were teaching me, and hopefully what they're teaching you, I'm sure, is design thinking. Now, what is that? Well, basically, it's a way to think, to problem solve. But everyone, has that in their own careers. But I think the way that designers do it, do it a different sort of way, where we brainstorm and we collaborate and we do it. It's an iterative process. And it's really thinking about people at the end of the day and how they respond to that. And really, that's been something that's been logical to me through my whole life. And I'm surprised that suddenly schools of business are doing it. And I was speaking to the director of the Hasno Plattner Institute from Cape Town, because they've got a new post out there from Stanford. And he said, many years ago, we were actually looking at UTS. And yes, that's one of the things that, design thinking was about. I said, thank God I actually continued with it, because I was about to give up, because what the hell is design thinking? And it really is today so much more complex than what I first started out with, because you've heard some people talk about artificial intelligence and big data and engineering and all these other consultants involved in a project. And it's so true. It is so complex today. But at the end of the day, I'll show you, hopefully, and can explain to you what I actually do, and I think what's important to me as a practitioner. What I took away from my years at UTS, and this is Frank Gehry's building at our UTS, is that I took away the understanding and the importance of to collaborate, to be very, very clear, because that's what design thinking hopefully gives you a roadmap for, and to be inquisitive. To be inquisitive, because if you actually studied the Renaissance, it was the spirit of inquiry. You had to actually have a free mind to be inquisitive. Now, to collaborate is to share, and that's part of the learning process. Now, I remember one of my lecturers said to the whole class, guys, will you stop sort of like hiding away in the corner and, like hiding your work? It's not the greatest piece in the world. The world will survive to live another day, right? And that is so true, because, egotistically, you're thinking, oh my God, I've got the greatest design in the world. I'm going to shake the world. I'm going to change the world. But guys, ladies, it's not going to happen. Not today. Because it's a process, right? So, I've been lucky enough to collaborate with other people, like Louis Vuitton doing their apartment concepts. And, you learn every day what you actually do. Even today, it doesn't stop when you leave university, or it doesn't stop when you win today's prize. It's just part of your journey. Clarity to me is really, really key. It's not just about clarity about the beauty in your design. It's how you communicate with other people in different ways, right? And really, it's about your intent. Your intent from the very start. And I think we can get very, very flustered by all the other elements that are involved in design, but it's really keeping true to your intent, the design roadmap, and the realization of that. So, for instance, this is just one of the quick examples of what we actually do, is that who is the drawing for? Who are we trying to communicate with? This was for the client. We weren't wanting to give them a whole load of design documentation drawings. That's for somebody else. Maybe that's for ourselves. But we just wanted to communicate that very simply to each and every client. To be inquisitive. Now, I remember one of the visiting lecturers was the curator and the director of the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney, and she said, it's not your job to know everything. Today, clients think interior designers should know everything. Believe me, I've been there, everything. And, but I think one of the ways that you have to remember is that you don't need to know everything, but it's your job to find out about everything that you need to know how to get the job done. And that's what I mean about the spirit of inquiry. You do have to have a renaissance aspect to how you behave and your attitude towards work. And, that leads me to an example of what we've done. For instance, I love native materials. I love, using different materials and finishes together, and how we put it together takes expertise, because you might be working with a metal worker and a jeweler and also, a leather maker and also, someone who's actually in fabrics. And that expertise, not everyone will know as a one-stop shop. So it is a stakeholder process where you actually engage with each and every artisan and bring them together to create, and realize the product that you actually have. Now, at university, your lecturers are also your mentors, in some respects. But I found that mentorship, when I actually left university and I worked with other people, was also by observation. Just osmosis, by practical osmosis. And these are some of the people I actually continue to work with today. And, it wouldn't have been possible for these opportunities to come about because, yes, we've won a few awards, and been listed, in the UK and around the world by winning World's Best Interior Design. But more importantly than that is that I got to meet other people. By speaking at events like this today, I got to meet Paul. I got to meet the people from Nippon. I got to meet, people from Thailand. And, this is what you've got to do, is that you've got to go out and meet people. Because without meeting people, you're not going to have these opportunities arise. So again, remember what I said about trying to hide your work in there? You've got to show it. You've got to show it. and by having these opportunities, I've also had the opportunity of actually being on a futurist panel and also on colour, etc. And also, as the MC kindly said, being even on television, we have up to 11 million viewers, and I think there's a spin-off now in Indonesia and one in Vietnam, right, if I'm not wrong. And these are some of the people I've worked with.
The incredible Cameron Wu. His firm, Cameron Wu Designs, has put together some of the most stunning rooms on this planet.
Thank you, Jamie. It was great meeting all of you, and I wish you all the best tonight. Good luck.
Now, one of the things that I put that on is that, right, actually, I'm not in television, as you may think. My role is a designer. And one of the reasons why I do what I do by going on television is to speak about design and to raise the profile of the design so that students today may have the opportunity to actually have people understand exactly what you actually do and respect it, elevate it, professionalize it. Without that, right, you may be facing the very same issues that I did when I was starting out. What is interior design? Is it decoration? Is it art? Is it a hobby? Now, you wouldn't be studying 4 or 5 years or maybe even more, so it's a zero-sum game, and I hope not. And today, Jamie Jury, he's actually a landscape designer, but he's also practicing, interior design these days. And he's worked with Oprah Winfrey, and he's on the Victory Garden in the United States, which is the longest-running landscaping show in the United States. And I also learn from him. He teaches me where to stand on TV, how to look, etc. Bit difficult to challenge him because he's quite a handsome bloke, right? But at the end of the day, right, I'm constantly learning. And this is what's really important. So my question to you is, who do you continue to want to work with? Who are you going to target? I mean, I put some faces up here today that I'd like to share. For instance, these are some of the interior designers that I admire, or some architects. And I put a photo of Paul here today because I actually know he's here. So, here's another opportunity because you're here. You're here today. So please make the most of it, okay? When someone's talking about you and you're always the last to know at a party with friends and all, it's awful, isn't it? Well, this happens in the industry as well. Like, why didn't someone just tell me, what the hell's going on? And you sort of kick yourself, and why don't they? Well, people don't want to share, That's why I'm saying sharing is important. So some of the things that I've learned that you should be asking yourself before you venture out is, how do I make design a business, right? Who's the right client? It's about fit. How do I sell my design? Well, for the first question, I think you need to have a team. You need to have a team. You need to have a team of advisors. You can't be operating independently anymore, as some of the people have said. It's not a loner game. It's a team game, okay? Your accountant, your lawyer, your lighting designer, your landscape designer, your architect, your decorator even. Don't dismiss their special skills. And to have EQ, the EQ factor is basically not teachable, actually, right? It's how you interact with everyone. Are they the right client for you? Now, it's strange, isn't it? You'd think that you'd have to sort of dance for someone before they actually become a client, but it's not. One of the things that I've discovered for myself is that as much as a client is assessing you as a designer, you need to assess them, whether or not they're appropriate for you. So not everyone's going to be your client. And that's okay. And I wish someone had told me that, right? Because today there's a lot that we decline for various reasons, okay? How do I sell my design? We were talking about that. Is design egotistical? Do you have to go rah, rah, rah and go, this is something that I actually need to talk about, me, 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 me? No, you don't, because it comes naturally when you're a design authority, in my opinion, right? To overcome client objections, right? When you learn more, you know more, and you can share more. And it's not really about ego, it's about just sharing what you actually know. And, for instance, Hong Kong is one of the most dense places or cities in the world, okay? They invented, guys, the nano apartment, okay? You can't get smaller than nano, okay? And in working in that environment, some of the things that I've learned here in Singapore is to be able to actually have greener spaces, to actually have gardens, to actually share that. And when I worked with this client, for instance, we architecturally designed the towers, but then the podium, we actually created the clubhouse, and we said, I think a lot of it has to be shared facilities, like the courtyard garden. And, the stakeholders involved in the process, they were all going, why? Because generally the attitude was, I've got to build everything up. I've got to use every single inch of the space. I've got to be able to maximize it, profit, etc. And that's true. But as some of the speakers have spoken earlier today, you can probably do both and do it very, very well. And what we wanted to do was to actually introduce the concept of a sanctuary garden that was introspective, that residents of the towers could not only just look down upon in busy Hong Kong, but also enjoy, to kick a ball with their child, to read a book underneath a tree. And today it's actualized. You can go see it. It's the Summer in Hong Kong by Kerry Properties. The other thing is, when we talk about overcoming objections and being a design authority, is how do you actually get past, for instance, a piece of furniture that we designed, which is a purple dining table top, like a surfboard, mixing the actual artisanal with the actual sleek top. Well, you know, one of the things that we actually handle is obviously color as interior designers. And the client's daughter was actually saying to us, oh my God, Cameron, your team has come up with something that's using every color underneath the rainbow. And yeah, we were. But we were very, very much understood how to deliver and actualize the design intent. And our client said, stop. He's very good at color. Leave it to the expert. And I respected that. And I loved that. And she's still a client today. Right? And that's what's important. Because we understand how to use that. In pushing the envelope, you know, in design, right? How many people have corporate offices? This is one of 20 meeting rooms. We understood how the morning light was going to enter into the room, and we just wanted to fill people with energy with their morning cup of coffee. How about that? How about also, right, looking at how we also got the client from the Summa at Kerry Properties to actually understand the marketing team, to understand, you know, you don't have to have, you know, a whole laundry list of facilities to actually impress people. That's not what's important. It's the utilization of shared spaces that we can create premium through still. So this is, their brief was indoor-outdoor swimming pool. Well, separate, but we created a single one, just with a garage door option, where in summer you can swing the door open up and you can swing the entire length. So in terms of our uniqueness, I think this is what I found for myself, and every one of you are going to have a different answer. There is not one answer for any of you that's going to be the same. You know, I think what we do is really obsessive with detail. You know, the interiors that we create. We create everything from the fixed decor to the loose decor to the bed linen, you know, that you see, to the lighting design, to the lamps, you know. Believe me, it's an affliction. You don't know when to stop when you're doing design. It's terrible. You need to take medication for it, I think. So the other thing is also, you know, like even down to dining tables, the client wanted one big one, but then to, you know, bequeath a dining table to her son and daughter eventually, so it's in 3. But, you know, just the very detail of the actual leg in crystalline lucite that we're able to do, and then the top being removable by magnets. There's not a single screw in there. So what we actually feel that we're actually creating is a total holistic experience. You know, when you walk in, how do you want to feel that? And, you know, this is the difference, I believe, between architecture and interior design, and this is just my point of view. Interior design is an experience, and architecture is the destination. You arrive at the destination, you see it from afar, you appreciate it, but when you enter that door, it's an experience by the interior designer. And so, you know, so from outdoor areas to indoor areas, we're constantly creating an experience for you. Color, you know, I think, you know, this is something that we actually do that might be a bit different to other people. You know, we like to actually inject our interiors, our work with color. Because I love that personally, you know. And, you know, this is just a pre-conference room area that's using color to get people going. How we texturize color, even in a study. And how we use color in terms of geometry. But really what I'm talking about here is that I go back to the beginning of what I was actually saying to you about my journey, and it doesn't end just here, but it's manifested in our work, is that I think my genesis started in Papua New Guinea, where I was actually immersed in art and culture and color. How vivid was that? That's what I think. So my takeaway for you today, or my leave away for you today is, what is your genesis of being as a student today? Who are you? I think you need to discover your uniqueness, because we can all reference other people and we can take mentorship from others. But at the end of the day, you don't need to compete with anyone else except you. And that's what you need to find. Thank you very much.